go someplace with a high immigrant population. Go to Texas. Go to Florida. Go to places with high immigrant populations. You're not going to places with high immigrant populations. You're going to blue cities.
This is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello. Welcome to the Think Tank, where we use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, and just a pinch of common sense to draw unbiased and logical conclusions. Today we're here to talk about New York State and the fact that ICE will not be allowed to do the things that they're doing in Minnesota and abroad in multiple countries, Chicago, California, Washington, D.C., and on and on and on, in blue states. Kathy Hochul has made a stance. She said she's putting in the law, codifying that ICE agents can't wear masks, that police, to quote Ms. Hochul, will not be deputized by ICE to chase law-abiding citizens, and they will be focusing on local crimes, which is the job they were hired for, to protect the people, to protect society, to focus on local crimes. Here with me to discuss this is New York citizen who's going to explain to you why he's such a great person to talk about this with, the Honorable Dion Powell.
Hi, family.
Now.
No, okay. Hi, family. This is District Leader Dion Powell of the Bronx Conservative Party. America First, borderline America Only side of the MAGA family, consultant, strategist, community leader, and organizer. So if you're talking about New York city politics and state beyond, I'm one of your guys.
And what do you do? Where are you from?
The Bronx, in New York, a borough, one of the 5 boroughs of New York City.
And you're a representative there. So Kathy Hochul attacking New York or protecting New York, dum 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 dum. So you don't believe that Kathy Hochul's protecting New York?
No, but it's called bail reform for a reason.
It's called what?
Bail reform for a reason. Kathy Hochul, Mayor Mondami, bail reform, and other soft on crime soundbite policies.
Hold on. So what you're saying is, because it was unclear, I didn't know what you were saying because I couldn't understand the words. You're meshing the words as if it was one. You're saying bail reform.
Yes, bail reform.
I'm not being funny. I really didn't understand what you were saying.
Okay. Well, it's kind of early here when we record these episodes of the Think Tank.
It is.
I'm a little under the weather for that situation. But anyway, so yes, Kathy Hochul, the governor, is trying to not let our local law enforcement work with ICE agents and that entity. But thanks to her opponent, Republican Bruce Blakeman, Nassau County executive, he will always sign executive orders to actually deputize local sheriffs and law enforcement to work and collaborate with ICE. So I'm sure it's going to be an item on the campaign trail. But that's what Kathy Hochul does not want to happen.
So let me get this right. You're MAGA, you're New York City based. In your high esteem, in your role, you would prefer that local police that should be working to keep crime down instead go off with the 5th largest military in the world that outnumber police in some states, like in Minnesota, where there's 5 ICE agents to every single officer, 5 to 1. Like, why do you even need police to help you if there's 5 of you to every 1 officer any damn way? Why don't you allow the police to focus on the crimes that they were hired to focus on? Why are you trying to deputize them? Why are you trying to run around with masks on? Why not wear body cams? Why not like regular police do? Why not show your face if you're going to be doing things like shooting people in the face? Well, he didn't have a mask on. He didn't have a mask on. There were body cams on that. But we still don't know the officers that did Pretty, who just unloaded shots into a wounded man on the street. Why protect them? Why not allow local police to focus on local crimes? Because if y'all wind up running around chasing immigrants, wouldn't that leave more room for local crime to grow up, to blow up? And you're in the Bronx. You're out of all of New York, the highest ridden crime district. Why would you want police not focusing on keeping crime down or working on crime there?
As a citizen of the Bronx, I'm so offended by that. But besides my own personal feelings, here are the facts. Number one, we are told that crime is down. So surely police have some free time to help the federal law enforcement. And this is a point of federal agencies working with localities because you don't have silly mistakes happening because there's certain knowledge on the ground, like ground news, in which the local law enforcement has that would help ICE agents not make mistakes and go to rural locations, actually not know the culture on the ground and help facilitate, access to criminal records, access to Rikers Island to have as detention center for such, and local law enforcement works with the local communities and to give intel to ICE to help out with these operations. So it all makes sense. So if things go left, like some of those killings in Minnesota, that can be mitigated if they work close with law enforcement. And then people won't have to jump them, and local law enforcement can actually taper some of that off and bridge the gap. So it makes sense. But crime is down, Leo. Don't forget, we're told crime is down. So don't say crime.
Well, okay, so in case you don't know, per person in New York, the highest crime rate is the Bronx. This isn't me being facetious or these are actual statistics. Crime being down doesn't mean it's not still the highest crime place. Even if crime is down 90,
Wow.
even if crime is down 90%, if you're still the highest, you're still the highest. Like that doesn't mean it's not still the highest. It just means
Guess
it's
what?
less.
When ICE is around, their very presence strikes fear in the heart of even the local community-based drug lord. So when ICE is in the streets, crime really goes down because they're just there. Their very presence is a deterrent. So that's a good thing. And that's another reason why ICE and local law enforcement should be working hand in hand. However, Leo, back to Governor Kathy Hochul, she still has the National Guard in our subway system. So don't forget that and point the finger at Uncle Trump, okay?
Yes, the National Guard who was supposed to be working for the state is working for the state. That sounds so terrible.
Why they're in the
But
subway system, you still don't have an explanation of that. And when they're leaving, the media's not going to inform you of that, are they?
because that is how the National Guard is supposed to be used to control crime at the state level.
They did explain why the National Guard is in the subway system. Kathy Hochul hasn't provided a clear explanation. So they've been in there for a few years now.
Before Kathy Hochul was there.
I would have to look that up, but they're there, and that's the point. And they're without explanation. National Guard is supposed to be used in emergencies, if you think about it.
Yeah, them being there, and that is weird. I will happen to agree with you on that.
Thank you.
For being honest, this is a think tank. We have to use critical thinking and independent mindsets in order to draw real conclusions versus, left to right. So you do realize that, like in Minnesota, where ICE is harassing people, they're pulling over police officers, harassing them. One officer was harassed like 2 or 3 times, like trying to go to work as a police officer. They're harassing even the police. And so, no, I would think that trying to partner with this gang, this deputized gang by the president, who happens to be the 5th largest military in the world, working with them to harass people, even law-abiding citizens, even police officers on their way to work, would not be something that I would want to. I wouldn't want to subscribe to that. If I were in Kathy Hochul's shoes, I would be fighting against that. Like, I don't want you in my city. You're going to send them to my city anyway, even though we don't want you like you did every other city. Even I think there was one red city that was like, hey, come on in. But the blue cities are like, we don't have a problem. Minnesota does not have a high immigrant population. That's just like, if you wanted to, go someplace with a high immigrant population, go to Texas, go to Florida, go to places with high immigrant populations. You're not going to places with high immigrant populations. You're going to blue cities. Florida has more immigrants than 3 of the states where he's in combined. Like, it's Florida. But you're not in Florida. You're in blue cities. So you're not looking for immigrants. And because of that, why would Kathy Hochul want to support Donald Trump sending in troops under false pretenses?
Well, because her purpose in life, like all local elected officials that are on the Democrat side, is to make sure to stop whatever Trump does, good, bad, or otherwise, because it's just Trump. And that's their purpose in life. Kathy Hochul knows that if he gets rid of the migrants, population in New York will continue to go down, and we're going to lose some congressional seats and other benefits of having so many illegal people here. Kathy Hochul knows that she loves cheap labor, like slavery, in which getting these migrants to take some of these low-paying jobs helps the economy for her, because she loves to raise taxes with Mayor Mamdani. So you see, working with local law enforcement happens all the time, especially when it comes to drug trafficking across state lines. So this is a federal issue. Kathy Hochul's the governor. She's not going to make it easy. Just like when Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Secretary of Health, said, hey, vaccines are not mandatory anymore. She's going to make sure your baby's injected at least 20 plus needles, because she's trying to not listen to the Department of Health and Human Services, CDC, and all those things controlled by the Kennedy side of the family. Hashtag MAGA.
The same guy that was like, oh, well, don't give your child Tylenol. Yeah, that's somebody you want to listen to. Maybe
No, don't drink Tylenol while pregnant. And a pregnant woman died because she drank so much Tylenol just to spite him.
Well, I suppose that's along the lines of inject bleach into your skin if you have COVID. I guess it's just as ridiculous as that.
Exactly, because when Trump says to do something, these people in their derangement will do the exact opposite. And sure enough, they did the exact opposite of that, didn't they? But he said, don't drink Tylenol while pregnant. And here we are. They did.
How many people died when he told them to inject bleach into them?
Hey, man, you have to pull up those numbers. But we all know fresh history, which is pregnant women were dying from drinking so much Tylenol.
We also know that the numbers we don't know is how many people had babies that was sick that didn't take Tylenol and the outcomes of that, because Tylenol breaks fevers and it's a go-to because you don't want your child to have a fever of 105 or 106 past a certain amount of time, because it starts to cause brain damage. But common sense. So we'll leave it with this. You're supporting Donald Trump sending in troops under false pretenses. You started bringing up things that even Donald Trump doesn't bring up. Donald Trump never said drugs crossing state lines, but MAGA supporters will do anything that they can and come up with any excuse that they can to say, yes, Donald Trump, while we just deal with facts. And on this channel, that's what we're supposed to do. So bringing up facts, no one has said that we're trying to stop drugs from crossing state lines. He said he's going after the worst of the worst murderers and drug dealers, but he said local people. And immigrants have committed crimes, but that's not who he's going after. He's going after doctors. He's going after teachers. He's going after parents taking their kids to school. ICE has used a little child. He was a little cute little kid dressed up in a little blue bunny. Use a child to bring parents out of the house. He used ICE used a child as bait.
That's not what happened, Leo. And this is what happened. So far, when he was pulled over, I believe it was, he abandoned his child there and dipped, trying to escape ICE. The ICE agents, the humanity they had in them, went to the door to see if anybody was going to take the child. The parents that were inside the house refused. So that's one big neglect, Leo. So I blame the parents. If you love your child, whether or not ICE is going to snatch you up, wouldn't you rather ICE snatch you up with your child than should take your child? And if anything, they should have just taken the child in the first place. But you can clearly see that they wanted to help that child by reuniting it with his parents one way or another, instead of just jumping in the car and peeling off.
Okay, so maybe that's the facts, or maybe the real facts are they did reunite him with the child in a deterrent camp, which eventually a judge looked at him and was like, yo, y'all are wilding, and released them. But what they did was they used the child to bait him out the house. He came out the house because his child was being held at gunpoint, and they arrested everybody. That's the facts.
The child was not held at gunpoint. It's sensationalizing everything to a big extreme. Number one,
okay, I exaggerated.
Dips on his son, a toddler, because he's so scared. So that questions his manhood. What kind of mother that's in the house with the rest of the family refused to open the door for a baby that came out of her womb?
They actually had to open the door. They came out the house. You're lying. They came out the house, and that's how they got them all. That's not true.
They got them all. Okay, well,
And they put him and they locked them and the child up. So they know they wasn't trying to rescue a child. They used the child to bait him out, and then they arrested all of them. That's what happened. And this is what Kathy Hochul doesn't want happening in her state. Children being used as hostages to lure out people. What worse of the worst crime did this man commit that his child was used as a hostage?
no, I don't know. Maybe coming into America illegally?
Oh, seeking asylum legally and then the law being
I
changed.
haven't heard asylum seeker in a long time. That was peppered during the first go around on the Biden administration, but they retracted that. They can't say immigrant. These are migrants for a reason.
Hey, everybody. This is your boy, Leo. You know me. I've been doing commercials for 15 years, television commercials, radio ads, billboards. Now I'm trying to step it into the big leagues. I want to be an independent filmmaker. I've got the degrees, I've got the experience, and I need your help to make my first independent film, Garot. So Garot is Boys in the Hood meets Clue. So these dudes from Brooklyn is trying to buy their drugs to supply the hood. So they go to the mafia stronghold and they purchase their drugs, but one of them turns up dead. And now there's a race to find out who did it. The Godfather's going to send in his hit squad, Squadra Assassina, to take them out. They don't figure out who did it because somebody died on his turf and he's not happy and he can't have stuff like that happening in his business. So please, if you want to show support, my Kickstarter campaign is down in the description box.
Haven't heard
I don't care. I don't care what the mainstream
media.
media is using. I'm calling it for what it is. So what you heard is irrelevant. I'm calling it for what it is. I'm not going to be corrected on how to utilize my terminology when it's actually accurate. They were asylum seekers legally here until the law was changed on them, and now their children is being used as bait. That is horrific. That is a war crime. You use a child as bait, and you're okay with this.
Yes.
That's MAGA for you folks. And that's it for this episode. Any closing arguments, Dion?
This is why we are the media, and now so are you. So make sure you share this content and add your own to make the algorithm pay attention to all of us.
And that's it for the episode. This is Leon Dion signing out.